So I was looking at this graphic of the pelvis and thinking, what's the best image for this? Here's the sacrum and the ilia. And it occurred to me that if you imagine the sacrum here as the head, don't these look like two big ears hanging off it? Here are the earlobes. And at first I wasn't sure, but the more I looked into it, the more correlations I found. It's really quite amazing. And here's a posterior view. They're injecting the sacroiliac joint here, but here's the sacrum. Looks like a head. You can imagine this is looks like an elephant's head and two big old elephant ears hanging off it. Alright, and to lend further support, take a look at how there's a direct yin-yang relationship here between the skull and the sacrum, because the structure that sits at the top of the spine is the skull, and at the bottom of the spine, the sacrum. And we know that yin treats yang and yang treats yin, so left treats right, right treats left, exterior treats interior, and top treats bottom. And hanging off the head are two ears, and hanging off the sacrum are two ears too. They sure look like ears. Also, Dr. Tan talked a lot about how the face images the groin. Once in a seminar, someone asked about Peyronie's disease, and that's a painful curvature of the penis. And Dr. Tan said to palpate the nose for tender points. And we said, the nose? Why the nose? And Dr. Tan said, well, please don't take offense, but your face looks a lot like your genitals. And he went on to talk about how the eyes are analogous to the testes, and the nose images the penis, and the mouth images the anus. And in fact, they are opposite ends of the same tube. Alright, so this is a picture of Cindy Crawford. She's a famous supermodel of the 80s and 90s, and she was famous for this little mole right here above her lip. And I put this in here because when I lived in Japan many years ago, I had a Japanese friend, a woman, who had a mole just like this. And she told me she had seen an old Japanese acupuncturist who told her that since she had that mole, she must have another one on her butt cheek, right next to her anus. And so she said that when she got home, she took a hand mirror and put it behind her and looked, and there it was, right where he said it would be. But it wasn't until many years later in Dr. Tan's seminar that story finally made sense to me. Alright, so here's another view. Skull at the top, sacrum at the bottom. So if the pelvis is the face, where are the ears? Here are the ears. But where are the eyes? Well, take a look at this here. Doesn't this look a lot like the Lone Ranger's mask? Now, I know I said that this is the earlobe here. So is it the earlobe or the eye? Well, actually it's both, and I'll talk a little more about that later. So the pelvis is like a Picasso drawing of the face. It's all the elements are there, they're just jumbled around. So if somebody has an injury to the pubis symphysis here, you will probably find a tender point right at the corresponding spot on the bridge of the nose between the eyes, and you can needle for that. Alright, so take a look at this feature right here, number 3. This has a name. It's called Darwin's tubercle. And look at how similar it is to the anterior superior iliac spine. So if somebody has a problem in their ASIS, or just pain there, I would palpate around the contralateral Darwin's tubercle, and you will probably find a tender point that you can needle for that. If the pain or problem is on the iliac crest, you can look at the apex of the ear for points to needle. This is the ischial tuberosity, also known as the sits bone. It's right where people sit. If someone fractures their ischial tuberosity, and that happens, you can palpate around the bottom of the earlobe, and you'll probably find a tender point. Or if somebody just has a stubborn pain right here upon sitting, or ischial bursitis, which is right here, you can palpate the bottom of the earlobe. Or, if they have a pain right here, you can probably palpate right under the eye, and you'll probably find a tender point right there too. Alright, now I like to show you a different view of this right ilium here. You usually see this from the front or the back, but I'm going to show it to you from the side. So imagine there's a camera mounted right here on the sacrum, and imagine that I separate the ilium from the sacrum right here at the sacroiliac joint, and I move it 8 inches or so to the left, and it looks like this. Now You usually don't see this view because when you look from the front, you don't see beyond the spine here. This is the spine here, but you don't see what's behind it. Well, this is what's behind it. And the first thing that strikes you is how similar this spine is to this spine here. And if you follow the top of the spine, it curves up and meets the top of the structure right on the downslope, just like here, curves up. You meet the top of the structure right on the downslope. You have this bulge right here, just below the top, where it bulges out to the left. You have an almost identical bulge right here in the identical spot. If you look at the bottom of the spine here, if you follow it up, you get up to here and it curves downward, and right below is an opening. Same thing here. You get up here, it curves downward, and right below it there's an opening. And then if you follow the center of the spine, you get to this area here, which is the inside of the sacroiliac joint. It's the area where the sacrum attaches to the ilium. And same thing here. If you follow this spine up, you'll get to the area where the ear attaches to the skull. And curiously enough, this area here, the inside of the sacroiliac joint, look what it's called. It's called the auricular surface. So whoever named this apparently thought that this shape here was like an auricle. This is the auricle here. So it's just kind of interesting that wherever you look on the, when you're looking at the ilium, ear shapes pop up. All right, and here's our old friend, the anterior superior iliac spine, which is very much like this Darwin's tubercle here. This person does not have a very prominent Darwin's tubercle, but it's there. And finally, one more interesting thing. Again, if you look at this is the ear, this here is the middle of the earlobe. If you look at it as the mask, then this here is the eye. So now it's interesting to note that there are two systems of ear acupuncture, the French and the Chinese systems. And in both systems, where do you think the eye is located on the ear? Well, as a matter of fact, the eye is right in the middle of the lobe. That's all I have for you. Thanks for watching.